A figure flitted from one shadow to another, weaving almost invisibly through Nuevo Diego's pulsating, neon-lit streets. Two figures followed, less skilled at escape and evasion, but still moving quickly and quietly without showing their faces. Dark figures fanned out several blocks up the street and rapidly closed in on the fleeing trio. The lead figure, known as Morris, slipped through a winding alley to get off the streets. This was a risky tactic. Morris and her companions would have nowhere to run except forward if any of the pursuers turned that way. One of her companions was Spider, an expert hacker and cybersecurity consultant. He didn't often accompany Morris on missions like this, but sometimes they had no other option. Her other companion was a scavenger named Kenny, and his main role in Morris's activities usually involved giving her a ride in his massive armored rig. On this occasion, he had been meeting her and Spider when their enemies ambushed them. They had no choice but to run for their lives. Kenny glanced back down the alley to gauge whether their pursuers had spotted their escape route. At first, he didn't see any sign they had. "Come on," Spider called over his shoulder. "Don't fall behind." The Justinian district's towering skyscrapers turned the serpentine alleys between the buildings into a labyrinth of light and shadow. They passed through long corridors of darkness and sudden patches of red and blue as the relentless chase continued. Far behind them, Kenny heard something and glanced back again. Ominous figures loomed in the mouth of the alley, silhouetted in the city's neon glow. "They've found us," Morris countered. "They might have found us, but they haven't caught us." She turned from the alley into a street, wishing she didn't have her two friends with her when so many enemies were in pursuit. As a Mark 6 android, Morris easily could have climbed the wall of any of these buildings or dropped through a maintenance hole into the city's underground tunnel network. As it was, she had to keep her friends alive, which meant she couldn't move as fast as she needed to for an effective escape. C.O.R.P.S.E hunters were on their trail. Mark 4 androids dedicated to hunting down and killing her wherever they found her. Cybernetic operational robotic personnel for security and espionage. That's who her enemies were. She'd been designed as one and trained as an elite assassin by Tina Harrington, the human woman she physically resembled. Unknown to C.O.R.P.S.E, Tina had added extra programming for her protege, including the directive Tina had set as Morris's task. She'd received it for the first time after waking in one of the organization's facilities. She retained the full message in her memory, but could summarize it now. In short, Tina had instructed Morris to bring her killers to justice by legal prosecution or permanent removal if prosecution wasn't possible. She was to avoid being captured or restricted by all other entities. However, she couldn't harm innocents. Once Morris completed her task, she was to blend into society until she could task herself. Guided by Tina Harrington's final message, Morris had repeatedly wreaked havoc on C.O.R.P.S.E. She had killed dozens of their operatives and androids. Her exploits had ended the campaign and life of their political candidate, Kendall Voorhees,